Are we live now?
Yep, no, we are.
Well, we're back to live here again, and I apologize for the technical difficulties. We're just trying to put YouTube and also Teams together on the platform here. And what we modified is just to use two laptops. So, but like we're getting back to is the concentrated animal feeding operations. The two that's one within the reservation, and there's one right outside the borders. And the one within the borders is today we're planning to pass a moratorium on that lot, that Pacific lot that's within our borders, and we're working on and also putting that moratorium also into our environmental code. So we're really working hard on this right now and trying to get this done before, there's different timing areas here where it's important that we pass these resolutions and these ordinances today. So it's important that we're getting this done today. And first of all, I want to say big thanks to the legal staff and also their hard work that they've been dedicated to this project, and it's a lot of work. And I know that Antonio and his team has been doing a lot of work on this. So I want to turn it over to our one of our attorneys, Jamie Konopecki. She's the one that's kind of heading this up, and she can take it away from here. So thank you, Jamie. Here you go.
Miguel, can you still hear me okay?
Yes.
Oops. Can you hear me?
Yep.
And you can see my screen still?
Move the camera.
Yeah.
Yes? I can't see you all, so if somebody could tell me if you can see my screen, I just want to make sure everybody can see the map.
We can't see it yet, just it like lags.
Uh-oh, okay. Okay, could you guys see that when I shared it?
No, not yet. Aisha's trying to get it to,
Okay.
They're trying to focus the
Try
camera.
again. So there should be a map up, so just let me know when you can see that.
Table.
It just was for discussion. That's all it is for.
I guess, Jamie, what we can do is we could probably just load your presentation up on our website. And if the membership wants to look at it, they can listen to you talk about our efforts that we're doing for White Earth Nation. And also, we'll put your PowerPoint on the website. So
The problem is it's not all a PowerPoint. I'm going to go through some documents. This is just one map that I wanted to show. I'm happy to try and put together everything into one PowerPoint later. I just want to make sure that the council can see my screen today, just so we're all on the same page before considering the resolution. So before it worked where you could see my screen, but now you can't. Is that right?
yeah, and I think all the council members have their laptops with them and our phones, and we can see them. So
It's okay. Yeah, we can proceed with just audio. I apologize. It probably will be harder to follow without the images. That's my only concern.
yes, you can get started.
So you want me to just go ahead with just the audio then?
Yeah, just get going right now.
Okay. So miigwech again for having me today. I'm going to start from scratch because I understand that some folks on YouTube couldn't hear. We're here today, and I wanted to start with a little bit of background and information, like the chairman said, to address the urgent issues of confined animal feedlots on and near the reservation boundaries. The map that I shared with you all that we'll share online later shows that there are currently several large confined animal feedlots already encircling the reservation, and we now have 2 new proposals, one for a approximately 1,000 AU hog feedlot right on the southwest corner of the reservation, and one for a 21,000 animal cattle operation about 3/4 of a mile off of the western boundary of the reservation. Just that larger facility will produce over 1 million pounds of manure per day, over 400 million pounds of manure per year. Both of these facilities proposed to be located in areas where we already have significant E. coli contamination, which is essentially animal fecal contamination in the water bodies. And this drastically increases the risk that we're going to see worse contamination from animal feces on the reservation. All of the manure that's generated by these operations is generally, it's just land spread. It's spread on cropland, on farm fields, and you'll see later that our experts have done an analysis that shows that that is likely unsustainable. Any more of that is unsustainable on the reservation and would threaten to impair even the remaining waters that aren't yet impaired on the reservation. Does anybody have any questions about the background material or the kind of the emergency nature of the need? I guess in terms of the emergency and the timeline, which the chairman also referenced, the county is currently considering finalizing a conditional use permit for the hog facility, and the Pollution Control Agency, the Minnesota PCA, has already received the permit for the large cattle facility. So this starts a ticking clock, and the longer that the band waits to assert its authority, the more challenging some of the legal issues, the constitutional property rights issues of folks proposing these facilities, you know, the more problematic those issues, those rights become for us. The additional permits that are associated, so you have the PCA permit to operate the facility, the conditional use permit at the county level to operate the facility in the south, and both of these facilities will also want to appropriate or use substantial amounts of groundwater. The groundwater permit materials that we finally received after a lot of struggle with DNR, that smaller facility alone is asking for 4.4 million gallons of water per year. And that larger cattle facility will be likely well over 20 million gallons of water per year, just based on the water usage of similar facilities in the state of Minnesota. So in addition to the water quality concerns, significant, immediate water quantity concerns if these operations come online. Everyone is familiar with the drought impacts in 2021 and the imminent threat to wild rice that we saw. And, it's the same thing about 10 years prior to that. And so this level of water use, if it is permitted without adequate study, without the right kind of testing, threatens even greater water level drawdowns in the areas of the reservation surrounding these proposed facilities. So, the agencies and the county are proceeding, the trains have left the station, and it's really urgent that the tribe consider the resolution and pass an ordinance, as the chairman said, which can be incorporated into the environmental code in the section where the existing ordinance is prohibiting new facilities and also prohibiting the expansion of these types of facilities on the reservation. Does anybody have any questions about that, just general background on the need and kind of the urgency for the resolution and ordinance we're discussing?
Jamie, this is Chairman. I have a question. I know one of the things that I know Secretary Treasurer LaRocque was down at the Miami last week, and of course we meet with all the commissioners, and of course the commissioner from DNR, Commissioner Strawman. I think one of the things that's important too is when you talked about the deep water wells, those are permitted through the Minnesota Department of Natural Resources.
Correct.
Yes.
And they're not doing an appropriate job of sharing information. So I have been pushing hard to get the assessments. These wells are kind of permitted in 2 stages. And the most important one is actually the preliminary well assessment, which DNR has people apply for and conduct prior to issuing a feedlot well permit. So those are the materials that we just did finally obtain for the hog facility, and now we'll start that process of getting those materials for that larger cattle feedlot facility to the north. But we are putting, DNR on notice that the current level of information sharing, related to these water permits is inappropriate. It doesn't follow the requirements of the state consultation law. We expect, free and immediate flow of all of these, permit documents and, information related to permits that are going to impact tribal rights, both treaty rights and on-reservation rights. But that is correct. So we're dealing with part of the complicated nature of this is, the conditional use permit, again, is a permit at the county level. The operational permits for the feedlots are from the pollution control agency, and the well permits are from the DNR. So there's lots of moving parts to keep track of, and we have to ensure that none of these get too far down the road without the appropriate exercises of tribal jurisdiction authority without tribal input.
Yes, make Rich. Yeah, because I know one thing that we did earlier too is we sent letters to these commissioners and put them on alert that we're going to do our due diligence here back home with our treaties and our sovereignty, that how we're going to handle this, and we're going to do it in a good positive way to create our own laws and create our, what we want on this reservation, not what they want on this reservation. So this is the thing that us as council here is, it's very important that we listen to this and we take action today on this, that it's utmost. I know we have Secretary Treasurer LaRocque has some questions, but it's important that, that we keep these commissioners, their standards high when it comes to talking to all, not only us, but all nations across Minnesota. So, Michael, go ahead.
Yeah, I just have a question and a comment. One of my comments is that, this is very important for our tribe and our people and our waterways and stuff like that. The other question I have, Jamie, is, these feedlots now, when they produce this manure from these animals and stuff like that, and then they sell it to other farmers and stuff like that, that they spread it around their fields and stuff like that. Do we have any contingency plan on that? I mean, because I know I did talk to an ag guy who was talking to me about maybe how if the high concentrated nitrogens are in this manure and stuff like that, how they're working to get that taken care of. But when I talked to Chairman Fairbanks, he talked about some of these farmers can't afford to separate some of the nitrogens out of the manure that they're spreading on their fields and stuff like that. So one of those things was one of my questions that I had. I mean, we are aware of that too, right? Of all the farms we have within the reservation.
Yeah, absolutely. And so the goal of this moratorium is to prevent new or expanded operations while we develop our own land use and regulatory framework. One of the big, massive holes, a hole big enough to drive a semi-truck through at the state level, is that when manure is transferred from these big facilities to another operator, like you're talking about, Secretary Treasurer, that wants to spread the manure, there is much less accountability for the nutrient management planning, right? Nobody is tracking in an accurate way the amount of nitrogen and phosphorus going on the landscape, which is why we see rampant nitrogen and phosphorus pollution across the state of Minnesota in agricultural areas. So it's one of the things that we can better address through our own land management regulations, ordinances, and that we plan to address. And what we're saying right now is we need a complete halt to this until we have laws in place that we are comfortable protect the waterways and the people, of the White Earth Band. So yes, it's something we are definitely aware of. It's something we're definitely addressing. And the two expert opinions, we worked with a licensed professional geologist, Jeff Broberg, on an expert report. And we also have an expert report from PhD soil scientist, Steve Oberle, which I'll get to next. Both of them identified those significant nitrogen and phosphorus contamination issues from the land spreading of manure without adequate oversight and regulation, without adequate soil testing, without adequate water monitoring. We need to have all of those things in place to feel the core interests of the band are protected. So absolutely aware of them. Experts confirm that it's an issue for us and that we need to exercise our authority in order to put better regulations in place to stop the rampant nitrate and phosphorus pollution that we see, which in turn causes problems for drinking water. Everybody's aware of nitrate contamination of drinking water. And then the phosphorus causing the eutrophication or the green smelly algal blooms in the surface water bodies, as well as in severe cases, dead zones. So it is a massive issue, and that's why we need to put the moratorium in place in order to develop again a system that we're comfortable will address those significant issues.
Miigwech, thanks for all your hard work.
Yeah, Jamie, and also I wanted to comment too, also I wanted to address the people that are watching this video that we are going to put this PowerPoint on our website. And when you do look at the maps, we do have feedlots that are north on the northeastern part of our reservation, and those waters are the Wild Rice River. And they flow directly into our Big Rice Lake. So you gotta remember that we're protecting our waters, but also we're protecting our monomen. It's so important that they don't realize that how important that our wild rice is to our economy here in Whitehorse. So, Miigwech, Jamie, thank you.
Yes, thank you. Anybody else questions on the basic kind of background and the urgency pieces?
Mr. Chairman, if I may.
Yeah.
Okay, I was just going to move in then to kind of address in passing that the resolution that will be considered today is not just a resolution, but it actually includes an ordinance, an order, a local law, a tribal law, prohibiting the operation of new or expanded feedlots. And so in support of that, we've worked with two experts, as I just mentioned, a geologist and a PhD soil scientist who's also an agronomist, to run through some of the significant impacts. The council has these documents with them and has considered them somewhat. I just wanted to go through some of the impacts. Both of the experts confirmed multiple times the need for additional tribal land use regulation of CAFOs in order to protect tribal member health, the environment, and the economic security. They also talk a lot about the need to incorporate advanced geographic information system, what we call GIS, data management into our system, which is something that we've already been discussing as a natural resources department. And in Jeff Broberg's opinion in particular, I wanted to point out that he, in assessing the surface and groundwater resources on the reservation, uses the term uniquely vulnerable ground and surface water resources. So as I've heard stated previously, we are a small water reservation, but we have hundreds of thousands of acres of surface water bodies and wetland water bodies, all of which are at risk again from both the high level of pumping as well as the pollution, the phosphorus, the nitrogen, the E. coli, the antibiotics that come with these massive operations. I think once folks have had a chance later, again, we'll post everything on the website. If there's any community comments or questions on these expert opinions, I'm happy to go through them in more depth. The geological professional, Jeff Broberg goes through also in the later part, we don't just have one aquifer on the reservation. We have a really intricate layered format of aquifers. We have an unconfined surface level aquifer and then medium and deeper aquifers. And all of these are at different substantial and permanent risks if these operations expand or if new operations come online on the reservation. The second expert opinion from the PhD soil scientist, Steve Oberle, goes into detail on what he calls carrying capacity. Basically, what is the ability of the landscape within the reservation to support, a certain livestock population indefinitely. And what Mr. Oberle basically concludes is that we're at a tipping point. Even if we were just thinking of these two new proposed operations, we would already be at this point where it's highly likely that the manure produced would be unsustainable for the land acreage available within the reservation. So the considerable surface water, groundwater assessments, the carrying capacity assessment of the landscape, the assessment of soil health, all of those things have been considered by these experts with between them 70 years of experience, and they strongly encourage the council and the tribe to adopt a moratorium immediately to prevent, again, expansion or new operations locating within the reservation. Any question on the expert opinion pieces?
Jamie, Representative Jackson had a comment.
Okay, wonderful. I also wanted to then just point out that in the record materials that the council has, we have a letter of support from the Land Stewardship Project The Land Stewardship Project has been working to prevent unsustainable factory farm growth in Minnesota for over 40 years. One of the unique things that they point out is the local economic devastation that happens with the location of large-scale feedlots, in communities. They point out that these large-scale feedlots drive small and middle-sized farms out of business. That in turn really devastates rural economies, local economies, and leading to a smaller tax base, underfunded schools, underserved communities, et cetera. It can also lead to increases in property taxes due to heavy vehicle traffic and needed, additional investments in infrastructure. LSP goes through a host of water quality challenges, climate change challenges, human health challenges, et cetera. And I think we're grateful to have their insight as we consider this moratorium. The other comment in the record that I wanted to point out, again, that's with the council members, is the comment from Honor the Earth. Honor the Earth for a long time has been watching and working on the large turkey CAFO. It's about 700,000 birds just southeast of the reservation on the Shell River. They have witnessed significant contamination and a dead zone in front of that facility. If I was able to share my screens, Bree Crowley, who is an employee with the Anishinaabe Agriculture Institute and also working with Honor the Earth, has devastating photos of algal blooms, a dead zone, dead floating animals right in front of the existing feedlot facility, again, the turkey facility, the Genio facility that exists on the Shell River in treaty territory southeast of the reservation. In addition to the personal accounts of tribal members and community members included in Honor the Earth's letters, they also point to, again, significant water, air, human health impacts, and have provided documentation, many scientific studies to support their comment. So I think, again, we're grateful for that comment, and it is in the record. Any question on the letters from LSP or Honor the Earth?
Jamie, no, well, I don't know if there's questions, but Annie.
Okay, then the last couple of things that I wanted to point out in support of adopting the moratorium resolution and ordinance today are the community affidavits. We have two, one from Megan Bakken on behalf of herself, her husband, and her children who live within just a few miles of the proposed hog CAFO facility. Megan goes into detail about concerns for her family's health. Since they moved into the area with the existing level of farming, they already have respiratory challenges. She's well aware of, dried urine, dried feces, other chemical contaminants, gaseous contaminants that we note in the resolution that are associated with the proposed hog CAFO, and is deeply concerned that this level of production in her community would exacerbate her family's health challenges. They're also deeply concerned about property values and have made significant investments to expand the family to accommodate, expand their home to accommodate their growing family. And because she is, deeply concerned, she filled out an affidavit in support of the moratorium resolution and ordinance today. So I think wanted to say thank you to Megan Bakken. And the other personal affidavit in the record is that of Wade Jackson, our agricultural manager. He really does cement and concur with the expert opinions that I went through previously, very well of, soil health impacts, water quality impacts, water quantity impacts from these operations, and feels that, they cannot be sustainably allowed on the reservation at this time, definitely not without considerable additional monitoring, study, and additional regulatory framework in place. Any questions on those affidavits? Again, those are in the materials sent along for today. Okay, and then I'll just, before we get to the resolution itself, just say the last thing, the last set of materials that is with the council as they consider this are scientific peer-reviewed papers. We have papers covering air impacts, human health impacts, water quality impacts, and water quantity impacts. And those will be covered as we go through the resolution itself. Some of them are noted therein, but the full-length studies as well as the highlighted abstracts are with the council and available for review by any community member that's, desiring to learn more about, the scientific basis behind the, the action that is being considered today. So that's the full record and presentation that I had prepared. I'm happy to answer any questions. Otherwise, Chairman, I believe you wanted to have the full resolution, proposed resolution and ordinance read into the record, and I'm happy to do that or let someone else do it. I'm also happy to answer any other questions.
And I think you could read the resolution though, Jamie, and I think that'd be good. And after you're done reading the resolution, we can probably go into more questions and announcements. I know our District 3 rep wanted to announce something that's gonna come up here real soon, but we'll make that announcement also. We'll put it on our website too, but you can read the resolution. Thank you.
Okay, it's fairly long, so do you want me to go through the entire thing? It's about 5 pages, this is why.
Yeah, I would
it's
probably
really
go
long.
through because I think that, I think for the record, for us to put this in our records, that
Okay.
these other feedlot companies that want to come on our borders need to hear this, and it needs to be put in our record that I believe our membership needs to hear. So, thank you.
You're welcome, thank you. So White Earth Reservation Business Committee, White Earth Band of Chippewa Indians, ordinance imposing a moratorium on concentrated animal feeding operation and pollution hazard animal feedlot operation construction inconsistent with existing activities and land uses, and expansion of concentrated animal feeding operation and pollution hazard animal feedlot operation activities and land uses pending the study of possible regulatory action. Whereas the White Earth Reservation Business Committee is the duly elected governing body of the White Earth Reservation pursuant to Article 6, Section 1 of the revised Constitution of the Minnesota Chippewa Tribe as amended and organized under Section 16 of the Act of June 18th, 1934. And whereas the White Earth Reservation Business Committee is the duly authorized governing body of the White Earth Band, and whereas the White Earth Reservation Business Committee adopted the White Earth Reservation Environmental Code, including the band zoning code, for the protection, management, enforcement, and enhancement of all natural resources within the reservation boundaries, a copy of which is incorporated herein by reference. And whereas the White Earth Reservation Business Committee established the White Earth Division of Natural Resources to protect, restore, and regulate the natural resources of the band and its members in order to ensure environmental and human health and spiritual, cultural, and economic sustainability of the band. And whereas the White Earth Reservation Business Committee defines concentrated animal feeding operations as a facility at which for not less than a total of 45 days in any 12-month period, animals are stabled or confined or fed or maintained, crops, vegetation, forage, or post-harvest residues are not sustained in the normal growing season over any portion of the lot or facility, and not less than 700 mature dairy cows, 1,000 veal calves, 1,000 cattle, other than mature dairy cows or veal calves, 2,500 swine, 10,000 swine, each weighing not more than 55 pounds, 500 horses, 10,000 sheep or lambs, 55,000 turkeys, 30,000 laying hens or broilers, 125,000 chickens, 82,000 laying hens, or 5,000 ducks are present. Whereas the White Earth Reservation Business Committee defines animal feedlot operation as a lot or building or combination of lots and buildings intended for the confined feeding, breeding, raising, or holding of animals, and specifically designed as a confinement area in which manure may accumulate, or where the concentration of animals is such that a vegetative cover cannot be maintained within the enclosure. Open lots for the feeding and rearing of poultry shall be considered to be animal feedlots. And whereas the White Earth Reservation Business Committee identifies animal feedlot operations as pollution hazards, if not less than 525 mature dairy cows, 750 veal calves, 750 cattle, 1,875 swine, each weighing not less than 55 pounds, 7,500 swine, each weighing not more than 55 pounds, 375 horses, 7,500 sheep or lambs, 41,250 turkeys, 22,500 laying hens or broilers, or 3,750 ducks are present, and they present a potential or immediate source of pollution to ground or surface water as determined by a review or inspection undertaken by the White Earth DNR after taking into consideration the size of the animal feedlot or manure storage area, the amount of pollutants reaching or that may reach ground or surface waters, the location of the animal feedlot or manure storage area relative to ground and surface waters, the means of conveyance of animal manure or processed wastewater into ground or surface waters, and the slope, vegetation, rainfall, and other factors affecting the likelihood or frequency of discharge of animal manure or processed wastewater into ground or surface water. Whereas the White Earth Reservation includes 530 lakes, 300 miles of rivers and streams, 167,878 acres of wetlands, and substantial groundwater resources contained in shallow, unconfined, and deeper layered aquifers, all of which are integral to the economic security and the health and welfare of the band. And whereas the WDNR, working with the relevant scientific and community experts, has thoroughly analyzed and identified substantial individual and cumulative water quality threats from the operation of CAFOs and AFO pollution hazards on the White Earth Reservation, including E. coli, dissolved oxygen, turbidity, phosphorus, and nitrogen pollution and impairment. And whereas the White Earth DNR, working with the relevant scientific and community experts, has thoroughly analyzed and identified substantial individual and cumulative water quantity threats, including water table drawdown, residential and community well interference, and surface water body drawdown, dissolved oxygen impairment, and temperature impairment from the operation of high-capacity water wells associated with CAFOs and pollution hazard AFOs on the White Earth Reservation. And whereas the White Earth DNR, working with relevant scientific and community experts, has analyzed and identified substantial individual and cumulative air quality threats, including the emission of hazardous chemical gases such as ammonia, hydrogen sulfide, and methane from the operation of CAFOs and pollution hazard AFOs on the White Earth Reservation. And whereas the White Earth DNR, working with relevant scientific community experts, has analyzed and identified substantial individual and cumulative human health threats, including cancer, brain damage, dizziness, headache, nausea, sore throats, sinusitis, burning eyes, acute gastrointestinal illness, increased cardiovascular mortality risk, anemia, kidney disease, and septicemia from the operation of CAFOs and pollution hazard AFOs on the White Earth Reservation. And whereas the White Earth DNR has identified that the individual and cumulative air, water, and human health threats from the operation of CAFOs and pollution hazard AFOs on the White Earth Reservation directly threaten the health, welfare, natural resources, economic security, and cultural continuity of the band. And whereas the band possesses inherent powers of a limited sovereignty which has never been extinguished, and plenary and exclusive power over its members and territory subject only to limitations imposed by federal law. And whereas the establishment of the White Earth Reservation, whereas with the establishment of the White Earth Reservation, the band obtained federal property rights to a sufficient quantity and quality of water to fulfill the purposes of the reservation now and in the future. And whereas the band is entitled to sufficient quantity and quality in order to make the reservation livable, enable tribal members to maintain customary ways of life, and permit tribal members to change and adopt to new ways of life. And whereas federal law provides that the band retains inherent power to exercise civil authority over the conduct of non-Indians on fee lands within its reservation when that conduct threatens or has some direct effect on the political integrity, the economic security, or the health and welfare of the tribe. Now, therefore, in consideration of the above recitals, which are incorporated herein by reference, the White Earth Reservation Business Committee, pursuant to the above reference authority, scientific and cultural review, and recommendation of the White Earth DNR, and after reviewing the materials in the record, including scientific studies, news reports, violation data, testimony of community members, testimony of organizations, and reports of outside experts, ordains as follows. Excuse me, I just need to plug in my computer. Ordains as follows. Section 1, title and purpose. The title of this ordinance is the White Earth Band of Minnesota Chippewa Indians Moratorium on Concentrated Animal Feeding Operation and Pollution Hazard Animal Feedlot Operation Construction inconsistent with existing activities and land uses, and expansion of concentrated animal feeding operation and pollution hazard animal feedlot operation activities and land uses, pending the study of possible regulatory action. The purpose of this moratorium is to allow the band sufficient time to undertake an interdisciplinary process of data collection, review, analysis, and regulatory and technology development sufficient to regulate CAFOs and pollution hazard AFOs in a manner that protects the band's core interests related to the human health, natural resource protection, and economic security. A moratorium is necessary for the reasons set forth in the recitals and consistent with the findings made by the White Earth Reservation Business Committee, each and all of which are incorporated herein by reference. The White Earth Reservation Business Committee relies on the authorities set forth in the recitals in enacting this ordinance. For the duration of the moratorium, the White Earth Reservation Business Committee prohibits CAFO and AFO pollution hazard construction inconsistent with existing activities and land use, changes in existing CAFO and pollution hazard AFO activities and land use, and expansion of CAFOs and AFO pollution hazard existing activities and land uses within the exterior boundaries of the White Earth Reservation. The moratorium shall be in effect for 2 years from the date of adoption unless terminated earlier or extended further by an ordinance duly adopted by the White Earth Reservation Business Committee. The White Earth Reservation Business Committee, working with the the White Earth DNR and outside experts, shall review the band's zoning ordinances and conduct an interdisciplinary study of water quality, water quantity, soil health, air pollution, and human health impacts from location of additional or expansion of existing CAFOs or pollution hazard AFOs within the exterior boundaries of the White Earth Reservation. The White Earth Reservation Business Committee, working with the White Earth DNR and outside experts, shall also work to develop priority protection areas based on identified natural resource concerns, as well as geographic information systems or GIS tools to map and evaluate risks and harms from the operation of CAFOs and pollution hazard AFOs, including manure land spreading activities within the exterior boundaries of the White Earth Reservation. Upon completion of this process, the White Earth Reservation Business Committee shall act upon recommendations from the community, White Earth DNR, and outside experts as deemed necessary to protect the public health and welfare, natural resources, and economic security of the band. The White Earth Reservation Business Committee shall take such action as it deems appropriate to terminate or extend the moratorium within 2 years of its passage, and this ordinance shall be effective at the time of its passage by the White Earth Reservation Business Committee. And then at the bottom of the ordinance, we have the record of the vote and the signature of the chairman and the secretary treasurer should the resolution and ordinance pass. That's the complete document.
Thank you, Jamie, I appreciate it. I know it's kind of long and, of course, it'll be put on the website too. But I know it's important that because I know that they're having a hearing on next Tuesday. Cup hearing, is that, correct me if I'm wrong, so I know that they have some stuff going in motion too to try to approve it at the county level, so I think that this is gonna be a good stand for us to stand on so that we can,
You know that?
No.
say our piece, so.
Oh, yeah. At Oglala meeting?
Absolutely.
Oglala meeting.
Sorry for reading fast, but I
There's a meeting
figured
in Oglala.
people could look at the text and.
And then also on next, I think it's gonna be on December 1st, they're gonna have a meeting over at the Ogama Community Center at Spring Creek Township. It's gonna be at 6 p.m. at the Ogama Community Center, so. But hearing that, and I think it's all important, this is for us and our water and protecting what we have here, especially our wild rice and our NIBI. I'd like to ask the council to take a vote on this, to approve this moratorium and ordinance.
Motion.
Aye.
Motion. I said it.
I'll second, Mr. Chair.
Motion by Eugene, second by Annie. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you, Jamie. Thank you for all your hard work. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Chairman.
Yep, have a good day. Okay, with that, we're gonna go into, we'll go on break here until we get into executive session, so
The fish one?
it'll be an executive. But I appreciate everyone for being here live today on YouTube, and make sure everyone's safe, drive slow, the roads are a little icy still up here, up north, so just be careful and stay safe and,
Motion to go in executive session.
I'll motion to break first.
Take a break first.
what's that? What we'll do is, before we say we're taking a break, we'll go into motion, go into executive session.
I'll motion to.
Motion by Henry,
Second. Oh, Judy.
second by Eugene, all in favor.
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Now we're on break.
I have one question, one